office and asked them to hand over their phones to prove they weren't the leakers.
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
Wow. First time he's won the 500. What about that?
It is a big week ahead for President Trump as he gets ready to make good on more of his campaign promises.
And the Academy Award for Best Picture.
La La Land.
There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won.
This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong thing.
Moonlight, Best Picture.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake.
I don't know if Men at Work had that in mind when they wrote this song, but it's certainly appropriate today.
It is fitting, right?
Yeah.
There they were. They starred as Bonnie and Clyde in the movies, Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty last night. The Oscars, as we knew, were trying to make it the most politically anti-Trump telecast in history. And yet, this morning, what are we going to talk about? How the award for biggest mistake in the history of the Oscars goes to the Academy Awards.
And guess what? You missed it because you're watching us and you have to get some sleep. It happened at 12:15 in the morning Eastern time. This show goes on and on with their home run, with their cleanup hitter hitting at 12:15 in the morning.
Right.
If you missed it, watch what took place as they get to announce Best Picture. There to do it, Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty. And then it all went wrong.
It's the wrong winner. And she was crowned. It was horrible. So they tweeted last night after this terrible ending happened. They said, "Have your people call our people. We know what to do."
Right, and that makes it feel a lot better. And Steve Harvey's got to be thrilled. And that was a good ad lib that Jimmy Kimmel had.
Absolutely. All right. Meanwhile, on Friday, there was something going on in the West Wing. Sean Spicer, the press secretary to Donald Trump, the President of the United States, called in a staff meeting and said, "How come I'm reading all of these what are presumed to be private conversations and private staff meetings with the communications department? Why am I reading them in the newspaper with these unflattering remarks about the West Wing?" And so he had everybody in the communications department apparently leave their phone on a table as they came in. And then he said, "We're going to have the White House lawyer look through your phones and see who you've been talking to because I'm sick and tired of these leaks."
Do you have a problem with that? Because I don't. I have no problem with, because this is national secrets, either on my team or not on my team. And if I'm Sean Spicer, I'm doing the same thing. I'm saying, listen, I'm having this private meeting with 10 to 12 people, and it's in Politico the next day, or the Washington Post and New York Times. I have to know who I can trust. And guess what? They leaked out the conversation about the leak.
Right. And he said, "This is the first time I'm doing this. I'm being nice here. If this happens again and you come back in my office, it's going to be a bad ending."
Yeah,
and I think he also gave up some of his stuff, Sean Spicer, as part of this in front of the group, saying, "I'm going to do it too, just to show you how important this is to all of us."
He showed a couple of tweets. Apparently, he had a tweet called Confide, which encrypts things, and as soon as you text somebody, then it deletes. And he apparently deleted it right there. Keep in mind, this particular communications department at the White House is comprised of a number of people from different campaigns.
Yeah.
Different campaigns that hated Donald Trump, but now they're working for Donald Trump. So are they out to make Donald Trump, last night there at the governor's meeting, make him look good or make him look bad? With these leaks, a lot of the things look bad. So they got to crack down, and of course the president wants to crack down on them too.
Yeah.
Corey Lewandowski had that same point when he was on with Chris Wallace yesterday.
Any information that's being leaked out of this administration needs to have a lid put on it, and it's very hard to do when you've got career bureaucrats sitting in these government agencies who have access to information that have a completely different agenda. And if the Senate would confirm the president's selections for secretary and then the under positions, we could stop those things. That's very important to do, so hopefully the Senate will take those up and confirm those.
But it's not just the Senate. There are people that the Trump administration could just be appointing and hiring. They got to pick up the pace. They did the nominees quick. The Senate held them down. It's a surprise and disappointing to every American because you can't function with half a staff. But the people that need to be appointed without confirmation, I'm talking about 500 plus
Yeah,
people.
that's the problem. And they've got access to this information that can be leaked, and they're disgruntled, some of them.
Certainly, and it's not just a problem in the West Wing. I believe it was last week the State Department put out a 4-page memo about how these leaks are against the law and of course it was immediately leaked.
Yeah.
We're not leaking this out. We're going to sit down with the President of the United States late this afternoon in the East Room of the White House, and you will see the exclusive morning show first interview with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, tomorrow right here throughout the program.
What do you guys want to ask him?
We don't know.
I know you've thought a lot about this.
It's going to wing it.
See how it goes.
Whatever comes up. Yeah.
But send us your questions as well, because, I mean, I'm sure you guys already have a stack that have been sent in from our
husband. She's sliding under our door.
We've gotten thousands from you.
I'm going to go directly to you.
And on the train right down to Washington, we're going to go through the entire list. So if you have a question, email us, or you can Facebook us or tweet us. In the meantime, 6:12 here in New York City on this Monday morning, Senator Elizabeth Warren has been vocal in her support of immigrants and refugees.
It is illegal. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional. It will be overturned.
That's right, hold the bullhorn.
But now some of our nation's heroes are asking, when will the senator have their back? Those veterans will join us live next.
And many on the left around the world plotting another women's march against President Trump. And this time it's being organized by a convicted terrorist. Fantastic.
With Warren and other lawmakers for their support of illegal immigrants, demanding that they instead put veterans first. In an open letter to all Americans, Veterans Assisting Veterans writes this: Senator Warren and others like her, they should know the difference between legal and illegal activity and should choose instead to act out negatively in selfish political theater. Where's your rally for U.S. veterans, Senator Warren? So do they have a point? Let's bring in two of the veterans behind that letter. John McDonald is a spokesperson for Veterans Assisting Veterans and the president of that group, Dennis Michelle. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having us on once again. Thanks,
Yeah,
Abby.
so we had you on yesterday morning. There was such an overwhelming amount of support. People were loving what you were saying yesterday. John, what did you hear back?
I got to tell you what, I heard from veterans that I served with in Operation Desert Storm over 25 years ago, and veterans across this country that had responded. And, you know, this is a real call to action. The one thing that they asked about is that, you know, how do we help? And I just want to say that, you know, each veteran listening, that, you know, we took an oath to defend our country against enemies foreign and domestic. And none of us have been released from that oath. We're asking our brothers and sisters, our fellow veterans, to join together once again and to rise up, to take on a cause. And that cause is a fight for each other. Yeah. Organize, take action, call your representatives, speak out against you know, this injustice, which is we have politicians in this country that are openly talking about violating the law and supporting illegal immigrants, people that don't even belong here. You know, we're not an anti-immigrant group. This isn't a political statement. Right. But we have a group of politicians that are literally shutting down the government, refusing to work with the President of the United States. Veterans can't afford another 4 years of inaction at the VA. And Dennis, we just find out it's absolutely outrageous.
And Dennis, you know, this is really a wake-up call for Senator Elizabeth Warren. You say, we see you out there at the airport with your blowhorn protesting what's going on with immigration. Where is that same anger and frustration when it comes to our veterans? You think about even just the city of Boston, right? You've got City Hall where so much is happening with immigration, and then the homeless shelter for veterans right behind that City Hall. What message do you have for Senator Warren, and why are you focusing so much on her?
The message we have for every politician in this country there are between 15 and 20 million veterans. If we get all our veterans together, people that are serving currently in the armed forces, and call our representatives, we have an unbelievable voting bloc. I got a call from a Marine yesterday. He's in San Diego. One of his fellow Marines needs a colonoscopy. They told him to wait 7 months for it. Why don't we give veterans the same health care that we give Congress? The same health care that Elizabeth Warren has and the rest of the Senate and the Congress. Let's give it to the veterans.
Yeah,
that's then the argument is over.
Thank you guys for being with us. Thank you for your service as well and for that message. I think it's one that we all need to hear, John and Dennis. Really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Coming up, Democrats claim they're now a party united after electing a new chair to the DNC. But is that really true? As some liberals say the race was rigged, the Woodhouse brothers, they are here to debate that next. Welcome back to Fox and Friends. Some quick headlines to bring you right now. The man who is accused of plowing down dozens at the largest Mardi Gras parade had a blood alcohol level 3 times the legal limit. Police in New Orleans say Nielsen Rizzuto hit 2 cars and then he veered into that crowd. Nearly 30 people were hurt and the youngest was just a year old. The driver sharing this chilling post just hours before that tragedy saying, quote, "When you have insane driving skills." He's now in jail facing several charges. 500 headstones toppled over in another disgusting act of vandalism as a Jewish cemetery in the United States. Right now, Philadelphia police are trying to figure out who did this and why. This comes less than a week after vandals overturned more than 100 headstones at a Jewish cemetery in St. Louis. You can see right there the Vice President, Mike Pence, helping to clean up that damage. In the last month, more than 60 Jewish centers across the country have now received bomb threats. And tragedy striking Hollywood twice over the weekend. The actor Bill Paxton, and a friend of our show here, passing away suddenly from heart surgery complications. His career spanning nearly 4 decades.
I think we're going in! Houston, we got a pretty large bang there associated with the master alarm.
Bill Paxton was 61 years old. I have to say, I've spent some time with him in our green room here, and he was a lovely man, so polite. And we also lost one of the original reality TV stars. The judge, Joseph Wapner, laid down the law in the People's Court back in the 1980s. Judge Wapner was 97 years old. And those are your headlines. There was that one movie, Wapner. Was that from Forrest Gump, maybe?
Rain Man.
Rain Man, that's right, that's right.
There you
what
go.
a loss.
All right, Heather, thank you. Meanwhile, despite their crushing November loss, Democrats choosing another establishment candidate to be the DNC head.
We will all be able to say the United Democratic Party led the resistance, ensured that this president was a one-term president, and elected Democrats across this country.
President Obama's former Labor Secretary Tom Perez edging a narrow win over controversial Congressman from Minnesota Keith Ellison. But is the party really united, as Mr. Perez claims? Here for a debate, the brothers Woodhouse. We got the president of Americans United for Change, Brad Woodhouse, screen, as you can see right there, left, and his brother, executive director of the North Carolina Republican Party, Dallas Woodhouse. Guys, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Brad, let's start with you. Your party, after this last election, is in a ditch. Is Mr. Perez the guy to drive you out of the ditch?
Well, look, I'm really happy with Tom Perez. I would have been happy with Keith Ellison. Look, I believe, to the point here, I believe Democrats are united. I don't believe the day after the Russians got their preferred candidate sworn in to the White House that when millions of people marched across this country, Democrats and progressives, they weren't looking over their shoulder saying, are you a Sanders supporter? Are you a Clinton supporter? The Democratic Party is united. We united for a big win in the special election for state senate in Delaware this weekend, and we're going to be united going forward. You got to be united around your policies and what you want to do, and I believe Democrats are certainly united about opposing Donald Trump.
Okay, Dallas, I think you would probably say your brother is in denial. You feel that the Democratic Party is at the lowest place it has been in decades.
Well, I think the numbers show that when it comes to U.S. governors, it comes control of state legislatures, when it comes to state and local races, and when it comes to land mass. You know, they're just vast areas of the country where there is very little Democrat representation. And by the way, Steve, I really think the Bernie Sanders people ought to check the envelopes this morning. They ought to check and see if they, in fact, got the right candidate elected, or
give me a break,
did Mr. Ellison get robbed in this?
Hold on a second,
Check
Dallas.
the envelope.
You know what? The President of the United States must have been channeling you, because about 23 hours ago, he tweeted this out. The president did. The race for DNC chairman was, of course, totally rigged. Bernie's guy, like Bernie himself, never had a chance. Clinton demanded Perez. Now, Brad, let me ask you about this. Regarding Bernie Sanders, he will not give to the DNC, because obviously they were in the tank for Clinton during the last cycle, will not give his millions of names of supporters, and they would really like it. But that goes to show you the party is not united. With the Bernie Sanders people, they are completely divided.
Well, look, I believe the party is united. You know, one thing, Steve, that people didn't pay a lot of attention to this weekend is that Tom Perez came to the stage after he was elected, and he asked for acclamation to make Keith Ellison the deputy chair of the DNC. There was no such position, and he created it for Keith Ellison. It's very seldom you see someone who wins a race that hands a major seat to the person they defeated. I believe the party is united. I believe Bernie Sanders is going to be part of this, bringing the Democrats back and making sure that we win in 2018. And I think Tom Perez is the right person to lead the party.
Well, that's what we would expect you to say. Final word, Dallas.
Steve, the real challenge there is that the party, the Democrat Party, is moving farther left, but their elections for Senate in 2018 are in states that have gone right. That's the real challenge.
That is all true. All right, Brad and Dallas, we thank you very much for joining us live. Spirited debate, as always, on this Monday morning. Guys, have a good week.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, coming up on this Monday, did you really think Democrats were going to allow President Trump to address Congress in peace?